mind just telling the audience maybe who you are, where you come from?
Well, my name is Gayanthi. I was born in 1985, and I just turned 26 a couple weeks ago. I'm originally from Sri Lanka. I moved to Bangladesh when I was about 9, where my dad, he was working there for the UN, so we moved there. And I actually spent about 1/3 of my life away from home.
Really?
Yeah. So that's...
For what reasons, if you don't mind saying?
Well, we moved to Bangladesh because my dad worked there, and then we moved back to Sri Lanka when I was about 16 or 17, which is like a difficult age to break away from what you're used to. Because I got used to school in Bangladesh, and then all of a sudden moved back to Sri Lanka, and then I went to a very sort of, how to put it, it was a boarding school, and it was all the girls in boarding school. They already had their friends, and it was a bit hard to fit in at that point. So it was a strange experience. And then after that, a couple of years in Sri Lanka, and then I moved here in 2006.
Okay.
Yeah. And my family there, some of them, I have an uncle in Bangladesh. I have my mom is in Sri Lanka. My brother's in Kenya.
Okay.
I have cousins, and a lot of my cousins are moving to Australia. So
would you say that the cultural differences between Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, were they significant?
Yeah, they were quite different because in Sri Lanka is a predominantly Buddhist country, and Bangladesh it's a predominantly Muslim country, and so there was a difference there. There were certain things that we couldn't do and we didn't want to do because you'd end up offending people, such as wearing the stuff that you would wear. And Bangladesh is a very moderate Muslim country. You don't have to cover yourself up or anything, but you sort of got these looks from people if you wore something.
Yeah. Would you say that the differences between the cultural differences, were they as extreme or as obvious as the differences between Sri Lanka and America?
I think they were just different. There was a bit. I had a better transition when I went to went to Bangladesh, because first thing I was just 9. So when you're a child, it's a lot easier to get used to things. Yeah. And I came here when I was 19, and so in terms of age too, that contributed. And yeah, culturally, yeah, it's a lot different here.
Right.
Yeah.
But you still had like experience with other countries before you came to America. It wasn't your first time in a new, different place that was foreign.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Maybe if you could talk a little bit of why you chose to come to America.
Mostly personal reasons.
Personal?
Yeah, because I didn't feel like I was getting along with my family. And a lot of my family, my cousins, they're going to Australia to study. But then I thought if I went there, I would have a lot of family around, and I didn't really want that. I wanted to just be by myself, and my dad, he just told me I could, find a place and tell me what it is, and I came up with Kansas, Wichita, because I thought, okay, they wouldn't say no, because it seems like a safe place to be. Yeah.
Okay. And so, in that sense, America, it wasn't so much that you were drawn to America for any real specific important reasons. It was mostly that it was away from something that you didn't want to be around.
Right, but then there was a certain draw.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say maybe some of the specific draws that stood out?
I think just this idea of America that I had from the history books, right? Like this place where everyone came to and they could just blend in. And I think that that American experience is no longer contemporary. That that stopped about 100 years ago, I think. So in that sense, I was
Mhm.
very disappointed.
Sure.
But that was the draw. Yeah.
Okay. Can you talk more about like what you just said as far as the idea or the concept you had of America prior
Yeah.
to coming here, and what you were sort of led to believe, and then the reality you've experienced being here for 5 years now?
It, well, the first thing that really struck me was just the idea of like religion, right? I did
Okay.
not think Americans were that religious. For some reason, I think I'd put Americans and Europeans in the same
Sure.
category in my head, and then I come here and I realize, oh no, I don't know where I got that from.
Okay.
And I think America projects an image of itself or herself to the world that's different from the reality, as any country does, I
Mhm.
guess, right? Um, yeah, I didn't know Americans were so religious, and especially the Midwest.
Mhm.
There was a church on every street.
And many different types, you know.
And yeah, many
So many
different
different
types too, like
denominations.
things that many different denominations that I had
Yeah.
no idea of, and so that was quite, yeah, that was quite a jolt. And then people, and I have been to other places in the U.S. and
Sure.
I visited in Chicago and New York, and it's actually a lot like when I came here, like going from a different country. Going to a different country, that's how I felt when I went to New York. It felt
Okay.
like I'd gone to a different country altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of, and I am from places, I should say, Colombo and Dhaka, very crowded places with lots of people and people on sidewalks, and I'm used to that.
Mhm.
So that was another thing that struck me about this place.
Like the sparse or the
Yeah,
sparse.
a lot of space,
Yeah.
and now after 6 years, I've come to like it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I like the idea of space, but at first, it's taken me 6 years to get used
Sure.
to it. So, yeah.
Okay. So, was there anything as far as before you came here that you were looking forward to, as far as the idea of America that you were extremely let down, disappointed in, that sort of proved to not even exist?
I don't know. Could you clarify that?
Like, some people, like, I don't want to say the American dream, you know, but
Mhm.
like certain ideas of America that maybe people from outside the country could be misled to believe in. Like, if you come to America, this is what you'll receive, this is how
Yeah.
easy it will be, or this is what it's like. And then you come here and you realize it's just like any other country, you have your
Mhm.
problems. It's not, I mean, it's.
Right, when I came here, I was not, I don't think I ever intended to be here indefinitely. But when I came, after a while, I thought, I would get an education here and then move on.
To a different country?
To a different
Okay.
country, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back home to settle,
Okay.
whatever that means, right?
Sure.
Settling down.